Wand on the middle.
Tammy, are we missing anyone? No.
How are you today?
I'm okay. How are you today?
If I was any better, I'd be twins.
My son's on a bus going on a wrestling trip, so.
Bismarck.
No, he was sent to wrestle varsity in Henninger.
Oh.
Yeah. So
At least it's not like it was yesterday morning.
yes, you're so right. You're so right.
Okay, we all know why we're here. There's a couple of procedural things that I need to go through before we get started. So, is there a spokesperson for the group, or no?
No, but I will begin when ready.
Okay. We all know that curriculum night occurred on December 2nd. I think there was a variety of dates on these, if I remember correctly from looking at them. But the grievance, was it submitted to Mr. Mack on December 10th? Would that be correct?
I have the 9th on mine.
The
I do
9th?
too.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
I do also.
I do.
December 9th.
Okay, we'll go with the 9th. And the principal replied on December 12th through an email. And these were received in my office on December 18th. Mrs. Metzger.
We are grieving the fact that we were required to attend curriculum night at Roosevelt Elementary on December 2nd, 2014. Classroom teachers were required to prepare 2 lessons for parents that were not ones used in the classroom. Preparation for those lessons occurred outside the normal school day as well. So to resolve this issue, we need consecutive minutes as required for curriculum night and preparation.
Okay. Anything else? So when I looked at these, and I understand from previous conversations why there's a distinction, but the requests that I see here are half a day of personal leave and 90 minutes of personal leave. I think there's a second page. And as I said, I've had the reason for the distinction explained to me. I don't need to hear that again. But what I do need to do is hand out this information. And if there are extras, just leave them on the table and we'll pick them up. These are the minutes from the April 24th, 2013 collaborative bargaining meeting between the DEA and the school board. These minutes were agreed to by both parties after they were presented at the next meeting. As you can see through the highlighted portions, what they talked about at that time for curriculum night was providing flex time. And in fact, that was what the ultimate agreement was between the parties, was that flex time would be provided. And my understanding is that the principal at Roosevelt has provided that opportunity. Would I be correct in that statement?
Can you explain to me what this means by flex time then? Because flex time to me is that you can use it whenever you want to, but I was only given the option to leave at 3:15 3 times early. That's not flex time to me.
As the minutes reflect what it is, as Miss Ross stated that additional time outside the work schedule would be flexed working with the building administrator. So there is not one specific definition for the entire district. It's the building administrator working with the teachers to make the accommodation.
So Mr. Mack can deviate from what the district is saying if we visit with him?
Ms. Tippman, the district hasn't said anything.
Oh, just they happen to have the same flex time with everyone got the same tickets?
They provided the same opportunity, yes.
Okay, so he has an opportunity to change it if we visit with him and at a faculty meeting, the flex time. Am I correct
He's
on this?
supposed to work with the teachers to provide the appropriate accommodation.
And he has the power to do that? Does not
Yes.
have to go to the CAO and ask them or anything like that? He has the power to change the flex time if it's not working for us?
For example, one that gets to me personally very much, I teach band till 3:30. For me, leaving 15 minutes early isn't even really an option. I'm still getting band kids out of the door. I'm only finished with class at 3:30. You know, so for example, my daughter I know is going to be graduating from kindergarten. I can work with him so that I can take that flex time during her graduation time then?
You could have that conversation with Mr. Mack. I'm not going to say that he'll agree to it, because I'm not going to bind him to anything at this time.
But he has that flexibility.
He has the flexibility to work with you and try and make it fit into your schedule.
So the principals all got together and designed or came up with the same remedy? They actually gathered in a room and came up with the tickets and the 3:15 to 3:45 or whatever the opportunity was?
I don't know how it happened, Mr. Smith.
Well, it's good to know. I'm glad. Yeah, Mr. Mack's very reasonable. I think we'll have a visit with him.
He's very supportive,
When-
so I'm sure he would.
Another question though that I have, I was given 3 tickets, but I also put in more time than that for prepping for this and stuff. So does he have the capability to give, because you noted that there was differences between people asking for time off. You said the 90-minute versus half a personal day. Oh, I thought that was a fire alarm. I'm like, anyways, and we stated, you said you heard why. Does he have the capability then to hand out more tickets to those of us that did ask for more time?
I'm still contemplating that question.
Oh, so he doesn't have that power? He has
Not
the
at this
power when I
time.
can use the ticket, but not,
He's exercised his discretion up to this point that he has.
When Mr. Mack handed me those 3 tickets, I asked him if I could use all 3 in a row to take an hour and a half off, and he told me no.
Okay?
That it was only 3:15 to 3:45. So to me, that is not flex time, because he was not working with me.
So there used to be a time, since I've been here for a long, long time, but there used to be a time when you could take flex time like that, like if you wanted to go to a wrestling meet and it was out of town, and that you could take some flex time as long as you made sure that your class was well taken care of. So, I mean, that used to be what was happening in the past. So are we going back to something like that? I mean, that would be a little bit more flexibility then for our time. So and it always has to be a family thing where you are, you know, there's lots of people with families that would like to do some flex time there.
That would be a separate issue from what we're discussing this morning.
Okay, just
This
checking.
discussion is specific to the curriculum night.
Okay.
just want to get this straight again. So Mr. Mack does have the power, if we would visit with him, to give the flex time in one big hunk? Or he does not have that power?
Those are discussions that will have to transpire with Mr. Mack.
With
And when we're
us?
done with this process as an administration, we will sit down and try and come up with a uniform approach across the district.
As a district, okay. So it is a district thing.
So you're saying those conversations have to happen with Mr. Mack, but he has the power to decide one way or the other?
He will have some flexibility.
Takes it away from him.
That's district.
That's district, yeah. So it's not a principal thing, it's a district thing. Just want to make sure I have that straight. District flex.
So when we get done with this meeting, we are not able to go over to Mr. Mack and discuss it. He needs to speak to you first.
The grievance hasn't been resolved yet.
Okay, I
We can't-
maybe
we can't really do
misunderstood you.
anything. We can't really do much, because my understanding is that there were teachers at Jefferson that tried to use their tickets, and they were approached by DEA people and told you can't use those because the grievances were in the process. And so until the grievance is resolved, there's not a lot the district or the principals can do.
And I feel, maybe for what I feel from the group, and correct me please if I'm wrong, that we would feel it could be resolved if we would have the flexibility to use it in that chunk of time in which we gave it. And I feel that's where we're asking for clarification from you. Am I correct in saying that?
Absolutely.
That I believe we completely would be resolved if we could use it in the chunk of time that we gave.
Thank you.
In the
appreciate
instance
that
that
comment.
you're talking about at Jefferson, did that happen in the school or did that happen at a, because I remember at a meeting, there was discussions at a DEA meeting about how to best go forward, and it was a consensus of the group, and the group here was among that, that body of people. I basically stayed out of it because I wasn't involved in that situation. It was consensus of the group to
wait.
To wait.
Mhm.
Yeah. It wasn't you can't use your ticket.
No.
That was my understanding.
So that was a DEA directive?
No.
No.
It was a discussion. There was no DEA directive.
There was no motion.
Discussion of what group?
Well, can you tell me where this happened, where a DA person came and told an individual you can't use your ticket because there's grievances? Did that happen? I mean, I'm not aware of that. It didn't come from us. I mean, matter of fact, I sent out multiple emails, expressing calm and compassion and treat others as you would want to be treated in a situation. So I'm kind of taken aback by that
Okay.
the accusation. I guess it didn't come from.
I guess Roosevelt, I don't believe, has
Well, I
been told
appreciate that clarification.
No, absolutely, no, we have not
Perhaps I
discussed that.
misunderstood.
Well, I would hope so, because we realize there's differences in opinion of our staff, and we try to take that into consideration.
The minutes
There
that
was.
you gave us and
Yeah.
that were highlighted, I'm understanding that that was a reason, that was discussed because you were discussing compensation for work outside of the workday, especially a curriculum night, is that correct?
Not especially the curriculum night exclusively.
Exclusively?
Yes.
Okay. So, the minutes reflect that flex time was discussed as the compensation then for curriculum night. Am I under the correct understanding?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm understanding is that compensation is also equality for minutes. So therefore, if I put in 3 or 4 hours to attend and prepare, equivalently, that is what it should be given back to me.
So how does the district verify that? You know, we know the time that people attended. That's not hard for us to
Lesson
understand.
plans, materials out.
But it's hard for the district and it's hard for the principal to know exactly what everybody did.
We
Well,
we do have pictures
Of all the
what we
things
did.
that were prepared.
No, I'm
Oh.
not questioning the work product.
Okay.
I'm just asking about the time issue that Ms. Meshke has raised. I don't know how we verify that.
So you can agree that you can verify an hour and a half.
Yes,
Okay. So then I'm asking for an additional hour and a half in prep time.
I understand that.
Okay. So lesson planning, preparing my room for parents to walk in, preparing after the parents leave for the next day. In the practice of negotiations is good faith. So if I say to you, it took me an hour and a half, as administration, shouldn't you not have respect in me to believe that it took me an hour and a half?
Ms. Meshke, I don't think I've done anything that's been disrespectful. All I've tried to do...
That wasn't my point, Dr. Sullivan. My point is if I ask for 3 hours of comp time, that is what I have done.
Chances are it's more than 3 hours. However, we do try to be reasonable.
I think it's a matter of trust. I don't think there's anyone that would say, well, I put in an hour and a half when I put in 10 minutes.
I think
And
that,
I think that's why you see the discrepancy
I was just
in
gonna
the
say that.
90 minutes to the 3 hours that people are asking.
that there was honesty there.
I mean,
Mhm.
I feel as a group,
Mhm.
we are constantly teaching and helping our children learning that. I mean, why would we expect any less than others?
Okay.
And if you look at the timeline, I guess that this kind of occurred to me. It didn't occur to me, but it really jumped out at me last night. Our last meeting, Dr. Sullivan, was on the 18th in the morning, and I always debrief because it's the way that I deal with things.
Are we talking, Mr. Miss Smith, is it December 18th?
No, November 18th. Dr. Sullivan agreed on curriculum night is outside contract day of 8 o'clock to 3:45. Disagree. Everything else. Quotations prep on Superblock is directed, not assigned minutes. 7:55 a.m. LJS. And then that was on the 18th. So there was a talk about ethical things. And I struggled to answer your question yesterday, and an individual last night in a conversation with another teacher, she said, Dr. Sullivan had every opportunity to do the ethical thing up and until November 21st when you issued the directive to your principals to continue. And if you look at when that was the 21st, and then you got a couple days until they got it out. Now we're at Thanksgiving. I would assume that most of your preparation happened during Thanksgiving vacation. Or not? I know several individuals said it was during Thanksgiving. Because there was such a very short timeline. It was actually, Dr. Sullivan, up until the email, I actually personally thought that you were going to stop it for this year until it could be. I really thought I did a good job of coming in and saying they're really upset about this. I was surprised when you directed your principals to continue with what Mrs. Catherine had laid forward. Done.
Okay, thank
Sorry.
you.
I'm confused on your statement. Can you please clarify? I was to the understanding this was principals, but now you just said what Mrs. Catherine had laid forward.
Well, if you look in the,
That's confusing to me, and maybe I'm
I believe
not understanding that.
it is our belief, and if you look at the, is it 2014 strategic plan of the district? It says curriculum night, and then there's some stuff, and then there's slash. It says Catherine / principals. So that to me means it's coming from our curriculum director. I would assume it's a curriculum thing. It should be coming from our curriculum director. But Dr. Sullivan was the one who directed on the 21st that his principals continue. That came out in Which meeting was that?
So it is
I
a
get mixed up.
principal, a
2 days
curriculum,
ago.
and a superintendent decision. Does that make it district? I'm just trying to understand.
Just for clarification, the
Yes.
strategic plan that's being referred to
Yeah.
with the Catherine principles after it, it does reference a curriculum night. That curriculum night was placed in there by the School Improvement Leadership Team as part of the strategic plan. The School Improvement Leadership Team is made up of 2 teachers from every building and 3 from the high school, plus the principals.
That would be you, right? Who is on our?
That would be me.
Oh, okay. So
And
you're
that was
aware of the
placed in there
curriculum.
as a result of that discussion.
So everything on the
And-
strategic plan is moving forward then? Everything that we suggested on, all the suggestions that were on the strategic plan are now moving forward
We're trying,
with all of them,
we're trying.
okay? Interesting. I understand what you're saying, we're trying, that's why we put them up there. It's things
Yeah.
we would like to see,
Right.
but that does not mean necessarily all of them will be
I would
moving
be
forward
happy to meet
within the
with
next
the
year.
faculty of Roosevelt and go over the strategic plan and discuss with you the progress that we've made up to this point. But, the short answer to your question is, we're working on those issues.
Right.
And so that was placed in there by the School Improvement Leadership Team. The reference to Catherine principles with the slash, that's in yellow. After that is who's assigned to the responsibility to make sure that it moves forward or tries to move forward. That's the assignment. That's not who put it into the document.
I have another question, just because my husband is a teacher. Is it just important for K through 5? It seems like it's a lot of K through 5, because to my knowledge, and I don't know if 6th grade has had to have a curriculum night or junior high. I am aware high school is not, and if they were, then John did not attend. But is there a reason? If the strategic plan then is who is moving this forward, why is it K through 5?
And that's an important question, and as I've expressed to 2 other groups, those are some of the questions that I think we need to sit down as a district and have some discussion about. I've offered that over the course of the next few months to sit down and meet with leaders from the buildings that are affected and try and have some conversations to try and ease some of the frustration and make it move forward more smoothly.
And a good way to do that would be to compensate us.
And have it planned before the calendar year instead of just
Yeah.
dropping it us
That
a
was
couple weeks
very-
before.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Mrs. Mason.
And
I
interrupted a
appreciate
lot
that,
of-
but one of the things that I was attempting to do was to navigate the issue before I did authorize the principals to move forward.
Can I get you just to clarify something, because I keep on hearing district and principal decision, and then Melanie, Catherine. I guess I thought we were all the district. I thought we were all Dickinson Public School District, and that if a decision was made by you, it was a Dickinson School Board, I guess I don't see the difference between Mr. Mack and the principals making a decision, because ultimately they have to get your approval, don't they? I mean, if they're doing something big like this that could cause some problems, or, that they would talk to you first. And I mean, I just feel like aren't we all the district? I don't get this district, and no, it's not the district, it was the principals, and I'm thinking, no, we're all the district. I mean, if you can clarify that for me, that would be, or is there no clarification between them? Do you see where I'm confused?
Well, I'm a little confused myself.
I'm sorry for my 4th grade.
I'm not confused.
Okay, do you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, and you're totally right, but see, the hook here is if Dr. Sullivan, I believe, can I'll just say it, throw the principals under the bus and say it's coming from them, then there's a clause in our school day where it references building principals can assign time to meet necessary contingencies, and I believe that it is his. I believe it's his position that's where it's coming from, as the building principals, and therefore it would fall under this little clause. But the fact is that we have been assured by our council that yes, this little part in here actually is in effect, but it means, you know, your principal can say, well, we have a parent that's coming in that can only get here at 7:30 for an IEP. Could you be here? And then you get together and you say, yeah, that's the only time. Over lunch, yeah, I can probably do that. Can you stay till 4? Yeah.
Okay.
But not to come back in at 6:30
To teach adults.
to teach adults.
That we're not
That,
contracted.
that
that's
is,
where
that
I
is
was
our
just-
position.
Thank you.
So
That
we
helped
have
clarify.
to, we have to clarify how necessary is curriculum night? Is that what we're saying?
Well, I think it means this needs to be reasonable. Their expectations of us, which should be within the school day, or as you said, I'll come in at 7:30 for an IEP, we've all done that. But is it reasonable to go home, maybe miss a family event, and then come back in the evening?
Especially with 3 days' notice or a week notice. I was,
Yes.
my daughter's husband.
That's a good point, you know.
My daughter's
I've conceded
husband
that.
fights for our country, and I missed going down to get her. Plus, I was away when all of this came up. So I had to put my time in, and Dr. Sullivan, what was asked of me, I'm not comfortable teaching adults. To sit in a room like this and speak, when I was subbing, I subbed at junior high and high school, and I was scared to death to go into them, and then to have adults I have to teach to. My contract, I believe, does not state that. My degree, and now with everything being highly qualified, I'm not highly qualified to teach adults, and it's nerve-wracking.
It's a little bit different when you're sitting across the table from them at a conference and
But
standing in front of a room full
you're
of parents to
discussing their
teach.
child at a conference, and that's what's important to both of us.
And
You're not.
I do think in our conferences, as I speak for myself and people that in the classroom or in our building, we talked a lot about Common Core. Our notebooks were brought out, they were used as examples of what we're doing in the classroom. We were questioned about Common Core. So even as I visited with one of my parents who's very active in their child's education, she said, well, you answered my questions at parent-teacher conferences that I had at that time. So I think it was almost redundant for a lot of these parents who, most of us had 100% turnout at conferences, who had those discussions about Common Core in our math and in our reading, and we answered them one-on-one and how it fit their child, rather than a blanket about the Common Core. Because I think as teachers, we are coming to understand the Common Core ourselves. So for us to teach the Common Core to somebody, I think is really tough. I agree. I'm a third grade teacher, not an adult teacher.
Marilyn, I need to also go on.
Mhm.
Mrs. Mink and I attended a meeting where all of this was brought to by our Title I teachers. So at Roosevelt, we had already invited parents in. It was both though.
Yeah.
Mhm. The Common Core was brought up there also. And it's my understanding, I did not attend it, but you also had a meeting October 8th at 3:30.
We hosted 2 meetings for parents.
Mhm. At Roosevelt. So we had already provided that option for our parents.
I have one other point, and I'm not going to confuse you, I promise. When you talk about the Common Core, though, there is a lot of controversy about it. And as a teacher, I'm not comfortable to support it at this point. You know, I can tell them what we're doing in our classroom, but I was kind of scared I was going to have a parent attack me or, you know, like ask me questions I couldn't answer and put me on the spot. That was something I was a little bit nervous about with this curriculum night, or, you know, because I just heard some heated discussions about the Common Core, and I'm sure you have too. And I didn't want to be put on the spot because I don't feel qualified to handle. And Mr. Mack was really good. He kept on saying, if you get any of those questions, have them come see me. You know, but still, that there's some anger out there about it. You know, I don't know that the teachers are the best ones qualified to handle this emergence of it.
Would it be better as an entire district thing?
I don't know.
Where Miss Catherine would be there to, you know,
Who's the
where
specialist
she's the
involved.
specialist in it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
And just because I came from a different place, I just would like to say that in New York, in our school district, they personally, the superintendent and the curriculum coordinator, actually did present curriculum night. They opened it up to the public, they presented it to our staff at the meetings and everything. And then another thing that they did was during parent-teacher conferences, they had support staff set up with computers if any parents wanted to see the Common Core websites or anything. But that's how it was just handled in that situation, because there is a lot of controversy in New York about it. And they didn't want to have the staff have to, you know, explain it to the families and things. So that was just one way that they presented it.
Okay, thank you. One last document that needs to be distributed since DEA legal counsel was raised. This is a combination of the last 2 pages. Of the petition for writ of mandamus from the DEA, and clearly it states there that the DEA is requesting the court to issue a mandamus to the district, requiring it to offer to the DEA a negotiated agreement for the 2013-14 school year based upon the negotiations which took place.
And they did? And there's
The
no...
minutes clearly reflect that the negotiations that took place included discussion about curriculum night and how that would be compensated.
It does say here that Mrs. Schubert suggested an extra personal day to compensate for the outside time, though.
It does say that, and that's part of the discussion, you know, that the parties discussed different ideas, and ultimately what they decided would be flex time.
So, in other words, at any time during the school year, I could be told that I have to be there in the evening, and then I would just get these little 15, 20 minutes, because I'm a classroom teacher, there's no way I can leave at 3:15. Could that happen at any time during the year, even if I have like 2 months ahead plans? Could I all of a sudden be told we're having a math night? Because I don't understand my contract that way, and I wonder if that's really affects a family life.
You know, I don't remember the exact timeline, but how many years have we been doing curriculum night? I know we didn't have it last year. We had it the year before.
One.
Once.
Yeah,
We thought it was
We
a
had it
one-time
once
deal.
before.
And then that's when it was brought to the DEA and discussed in these minutes.
Uh-huh.
So you don't think it'll be
And then we had a year
reoccurring?
off. Then we had a year off,
Right.
and now we're in the present year.
Right, okay.
So you don't think it's going to be something common, like a math night coming down the road? Because I know, like, Marilyn and I had conferences one week, we had curriculum night the next week, and the concert the next week because we're third grade teachers. I mean, that's a lot of time, especially if you have, well, the only one I didn't know about was curriculum night, so that affected a family activity, and I don't know. I put my job pretty high on the pedestal, but I have to keep my family up there too.
Mhm.
Anything else?
I still feel that with our flex time, that I don't feel that it's come to a sincere conclusion that we have, Mr. Mack has the power to give us it in that chunk of 9 months.
Okay.
Again, do you feel that way? I don't feel that we have made that conclusion or not.
He did state that he can use it at his discretion, right?
But I
Yeah.
thought they were meeting back to talk about it with him later.
But until then, he has discretion.
I don't know.
I'm,
Well, that would be your
I'm
your
wondering.
answer. I'm looking to you.
Okay, you're it.
Your answer.
Don't ask
Unless
me.
you want me to answer, I'll say yes.
Thank you, Donna.
Yeah.
And pay the others.
I can pay the others?
But you didn't answer.
That's
it,
what
right?
I'm looking
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
answer from you.
The
You're
answer.
looking for an answer from me right now at this moment.
Where do we go
That-
from here?
Well, then that's what
Yeah.
I feel
No,
like
We have
I
to get
can't
the-
leave it just.
We have to get the grievances processed.
Okay.
okay.
We have to get the grievances resolved, and then we'll all have all of our answers.
So don't visit with Mr. Mack until that grievance is.
Well, there's, as I said earlier, there's really nothing we can do until the
Okay.
grievances are resolved.
So the tickets we are not able to use now then?
My understanding was that it was the consensus of whatever group not to use them.
No, we were
Never
never
was.
told that at Roosevelt.
Well,
And that was not a-
Mr. Smith just stated that
Well,
there was some
there was a
group that had
discussion.
A
consensus.
discussion.
There was a discussion.
There was a discussion.
There was
But there was
some
not a
discussion.
consensus?
We want more personal
I don't know,
to
I
it.
can't speak for the DEA.
I'll ask you then, you're the DEA president. Was there consensus from DEA not to use the tickets?
There was a discussion at the meeting on.
But a consensus, was there consensus?
It was never voted on. There was one thing that there was a massive consensus on, was to continue the grievances.
Yes.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
That was
Yes,
what I
definitely.
remember from that meeting.
There was
But there
a
was-
question of whether or not those tickets, if you use those, since those are only for that short time, whether that, if you use them, or you limiting yourself to that.
To the
That-
grievance process, yeah.
Mhm.
So there was never a consensus to not use those tickets. So now that that's been clarified, are we able then to go back and discuss with Mr. Mack about the flexibility of using those tickets?
You can discuss it, but until we move forward and get the grievances resolved, I don't know how.
So
the
from you,
principals-
you are the
What-
one telling us not to use those tickets then?
No, the grievance process is dictating that.
Okay,
because
but I
we need
mean,
to get to a
we are
resolution.
being told not to use those tickets right now by somebody.
I'm not being told, I'm not telling you that.
Okay,
Mhm.
Somebody said that from some point in time. I don't know exactly where it came from.
You just said it. You said the grievance process dictates that you don't use the
Yeah.
tickets. You just said it. Did you not? That's what I heard.
Okay, then let me ask this, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
If somebody uses a ticket, does that nullify their grievance?
I don't know.
That's what, yeah, well, people
That
are
may
worried
be a
about
fear.
that.
I don't know.
That
We're
would be a
asking
fear.
you.
Yeah.
Teachers
That's
were
a
worried
fear.
about.
Mhm.
I don't have, I truthfully don't know. I've never done this before.
And nobody has.
I'm a rookie. I'm sorry, guys, I'm a rookie.
no.
I don't have
we
holy
are all
answers.
one.
We are all
Yeah, we
rookies.
don't.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Something we do.
Which I think is,
Well, I guess if
Honorable
somebody
Prime
were
District.
interested in using the tickets and wanted to withdraw their grievance, that would not be resisted by the district.
There you have the answer.
Okay,
Okay.
there's your answer.
Okay.
so if you use the ticket, then you're withdrawing your grievance?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's what somebody wants to do.
okay. So as of right now, we really aren't then compensated until after the grievance?
Unless somebody wants to use the tickets.
Yes.
Yes,
and thinks
okay.
that that's
I just
reasonable.
wanted that clarification. So there's no
That
use
should
in
have
three
maybe been
hunts.
stated earlier about,
One
you
hunt.
know, it's kind of just thrown in there now.
You might if you wait.
In case somebody
You
had
might be
used it.
able
That's
to if you
right.
wait.
Yeah.
I was not aware
not
of
sure.
that.
Yeah.
Like, it could be solved right now if we were given our half day, right? Or even be able to use them all in one hunk.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I would also like to just restate that it's not just the flex time or the 3 tickets. It is also, the grievance is part of equality, the equivalent of what we put into it. So we are also looking for, as classroom teachers, for more than 3 tickets, or more than the amount of flex time we've been given. Equal time for what we put in for our work.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, thanks for your time.
Thank
Have a
you.
nice weekend.
Thank you.